Welcome to the On Stage podcast, where we interview musicians and members of the entertainment community. Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. We have Mission Road here today with Christina on the right and Elliot on the left. Now, they're a duo, but they do have other members of the band, and who is actually absent is guitarist Chris Thompson, bassist Paulie Coconuts, and drummer percussionist Frank Perez. But in the meantime, it's Christina and Elliot for tonight. So, with Mission Road, they were formed in the summer of 2021 when Christina Alexander teamed up with keyboard player and songwriter Elliot Simon. The name comes from the street on which Christina was living at the time, up on the mountain outside of Harpers
Ferry,
West Virginia. The band is still based in Harpers Ferry and has joined forces with pedal steel guitarist, as we mentioned before, Chris Thompson, and bassist Paulie Coconuts, and drummer percussionist Frank Perez. Hello. There you go.
Hi.
how you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Doing fantastic.
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Thank you for reaching out. I love it when people have found our podcast and have a desire to be on. And I'm just like, yes, they want to be on my podcast, you know? And it's actually...
Shout out to Caden.
I'm sorry?
A big shout out to Caden Gordon for recommending you.
Yes, I really appreciate Caden Gordon. He's the hardest working podcaster. He's the hardest working promoter. He does what he says. He's fantastic. Shout out to Caden Gordon. And he had his birthday, I think, a month or so ago. So, yeah. So, Christina, can you give me a little bit of a background of what inspired you a career in music?
Well, I've always loved music ever since I was a little tyke. And my father, I grew up in a house where my father was playing the piano every Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes in the evenings during a work day. So there was always that music in the house. And my grandfather was a professional organist and pianist. So it kind of like is in the blood. And I just started enjoying learning how to play different instruments. But I realized when I was a teenager that singing was really what I wanted to do. And I just was inspired by my dad and my grandfather. And my father would play a lot of Patsy Cline and a lot of Whitney Houston. And I just pretended I was them. And I just fell in love with it.
Wow, that's quite a reference between Whitney Houston and Patsy Cline. Wow, that's like referencing Steve Tyler and Christina Aguilera, or Britney Spears and Andrea Bocelli. I mean, that's quite a grouping right there. So why the piano? Why did you choose that? Why not like the violin or the tuba or the flute?
Well, Elliot is the piano player. I started out playing the recorder like most kids do. And from there, I loved playing an instrument. So I learned how to play the flute, and I played that for about a decade.
Did you play a little bit of guitar too?
I played a little bit of guitar. I messed around kind of noodling, playing scales on the keyboard. I'm pretty good at playing percussion. And in the marching band in high school, I would play the bells. So that's close to a piano.
Yeah, I can imagine that. You're 6 years old and you're getting up and saying, let's start banging wooden spoons upon these pots. No, that's not it. Oh, let's play it. And suddenly, I know what I'll do. I'll play the flute. But what about you, Elliot? Give us a little bit of a background of who Elliot Simon is, where you grew up, and why music.
Well, I come from a musical family. My mother, when she was in high school, won a contest singing, and decided that was on a farm in Ohio. Actually, she grew up in a coal mining town, My mom was a coal miner's daughter.
Mm.
But she went to New York, wanted to be a singer, and I came along. she was still singing when she was pregnant with me. So I guess I'd been on stage since before I was born. And she married my dad, who was a songwriter, and he had some success. He had a couple of recordings that did pretty good. One was recorded by Nat King Cole back in the 60s. So, and that went, I think, to number 14 or somewhere around there on the charts. So I grew up in a musical family. I grew up actually in New York. And but I've been out of New York now for 30 years and don't miss it, wouldn't go back. I think next stop might be Nashville, but kind of love it here in West Virginia. It's got a great music scene.
Tell them what your first instrument was.
Oh, yeah, that's great. The accordion. And it's funny because my dad used to have to carry it around because I was like 8 years old. And after a while, he was so tired of carrying the accordion around that he said, you know what, you're going to learn how to play the piano, all right? So I made the transition. But you can hear on our album. You can hear a little bit of accordion here and there. So on a couple of cuts. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's perfectly all right. You were mentioning about your dad wrote a song for Nat King Cole. Did your dad ever meet Nat King Cole?
Oh yes, I actually have a nice photograph of Nat King Cole where he thanks my dad for the song and all of that, and it's up on my wall in our rehearsal studio.
Wow.
So yeah, and he had a couple of other nice records too. But the Nat King Cole record, that's a song we put on our album as a tribute to my dad. So that album has 13 tracks on it, 10 of them written by me, one by my dad, which is that one.
Dear Lonely Hearts is the name of it.
Yeah, so that's that story.
That's a great story. How did you and two connect?
Well, it's funny because like 5 years ago, maybe 6 years by now, it's been quite a while, we met in church.
Track, yeah.
A mutual friend of ours introduced us in church, and we just kind of like spoke for a few minutes, and he told the friend named Chris, told Elliot, hey, this girl wants to be a singer. And Elliot's like, yeah, right. And so Chris was saying to me, Elliot might want a singer. You two should get together and jam out sometime.
Well, I was playing piano in the church band. It was a Christian rock band. And so he knew I played piano.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I heard you play, and I was like, wow, he's really good. He doesn't want to work with somebody like me. So I never approached him about music. I was like, yeah, whatever. And he was thinking the same thing about me. Yeah, whatever. And then the pandemic happened. So we never seen each other or anything again. And one day down the street in a little hole in the wall bar restaurant, we ran into each other.
Up on this mountain here outside of Harpers Ferry.
I didn't know he lived here. And I just moved here. I just moved on the mountain. I'd only been here a couple of months. Or no, maybe a year. And he's like, hey, aren't you the lady from church? And I'm like, yeah, I remember you. So we talked for a couple minutes. I finished my meal, and I was headed out to my car to go home when all of a sudden he's chasing me out into the parking lot. Hey, wait. Can I get your phone number? And I'm like, this guy's a creep. Like, why are you chasing me for my phone number?
We had said we should get together and play some music. So I, wanted to get your phone number.
I know, but a lot of people say that, and I didn't take it seriously. But yeah, so then I never heard from him. Many months went by.
I wrote the phone number down wrong, of course.
So we ran into each other again at the same little bar, and he's like, hey, I tried calling you. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't get any phone call from you. And so I looked at the number he wrote down. It was wrong. So I gave him the correct number. And sure enough, a week or so later, I get a message from him. Hey, you want to get together and jam? And that's how it all started.
Yeah, she came over. I started playing. She started singing. Magic started happening, and the rest, as they say, is history.
The rest, as they say, is history. Excellent. Uh, Give me a little bit of idea what it's like to live in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. Now, is it true that there's a lot of I don't say hay rides and pie and jam parties and fiddlers and just parties like that they have every summer? Is it true that they have something like
It
that,
is true.
like a festival
Yeah,
of some
there's
sort? Yeah.
yes, there's an arts and crafts festival every September. Then, of course, there's the Jefferson County Fair, the Berkeley County Fair, which is the next county over. And Jefferson County, where Harpers Ferry is the most agricultural county in the state of West Virginia. So, because the rest of the state is mountainous, and although we're up on a mountain ridge over here, we're probably over 2,000 feet up. I estimate where we are right now.
Wow.
It's beautiful, beautiful view.
Yeah.
You should see this view. So, but it's you know, where we are, right by the Shenandoah River, is if you do the first verse of Country Roads, the John Denver song, it describes exactly where we are.
It does.
Wow. And never thought of moving elsewhere, eh? You rather just be where you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost heaven, literally. You know,
I'd never in my life imagined that I would be living in West Virginia, but I moved out here not knowing anybody, trying to start my life over, and I ended up running into him, and I'm like, wow, I guess I do know somebody that lives here. And now I love it.
And the guy who introduced us also moved into this area, and so it's just a beautiful, wonderful community. It really is.
Wow.
Everybody is super nice around here.
Yeah.
So you just have a view of all mountains. Do you see a lot of eagles?
Yeah, I do. The eagles, I'm so high up, the eagles fly below my windows.
Wow, that would be quite an experience because I'm in Toronto. We haven't seen an eagle. We see a lot of seagulls
Mm.
and
Oh
maybe some
wow.
crows, but to be in a place where you see eagles all the time, wow! I can imagine see the eagle. That's amazing. I mean,
Well, it's weird to look down and see the bird's back. It's like, this is so weird.
how long does it take you to get down below to where the people are?
Like 15 minutes.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, because then you're still you're not all the way down to sea level, and when you get down there, actually, then you're driving along the Shenandoah River. So it's really just wherever you go, it's something beautiful to look at.
If someone came up to you and said, like, how would you describe your music to someone who's interested? They just meet you for the first time and say, "So, what kind of music do you do?"
Well, it's what we like to say is it's new country music with a classic style. So um, we draw our inspiration from some of the classic artists, Hank Williams or Merle Haggard or Tammy Wynette, Loretta Lynn,
Wow.
and her idol.
Patsy Cline.
Yeah. So and but yet we do some of the covers of some of the more modern stuff, like a Shania Twain or Sarah Evans and Martina McBride, those kind of people.
Darius Rucker.
Yeah. But mostly we like to we do our originals. So it's probably we try to make it a 50-50 mix. But if you're going to do a 3-4 hour gig somewhere, it's probably a third of our songs and then maybe 2/3 of some of the covers that people like.
And if it's a bar, a lot of the people, the patrons, they enjoy more of the rockish country. So we can't always do our originals, but we always sneak a few in.
Rockish country. I like that.
Rockish country.
Yeah, there's a turn of phrase.
Yeah, you mentioned
The rockin'
lot of genres. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what is roots rock? Can you explain that?
Love to, because we'll be doing some of that on our Facebook Live tonight. Roots rock to me is, well, if it encompasses some of the country giants that kind of inspired some of the rock and rollers, like a Jerry Lee Lewis, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That's roots rock, or Chuck Berry. That's roots rock to me. But I really think that Hank Williams was kind of roots rock too, because you have a song like "Move It On Over" that was released in 1947. And yet George Thorogood had a huge hit with him when he rocked it up, and we do kind of like we do a kind of a country rockish cover of that tune. So, but yeah, that's roots rock to me is I mean that's a cultural thing, and that's actually the stuff that I really love playing.
And you're really good at playing Jerry Lee Lewis music.
Well, nobody compares to him. He's the killer.
I'm just saying.
No, I know.
I didn't say you are as good as him. I'm just saying you do it very well. There's only one Jerry Lee Lewis, and actually his sister, I don't remember her name, she's just like him, fantastic.
Yeah, she is. Mm-hmm.
So where did the name for the band Mission Road come from? To have mission has something to do with something biblical, right?
Well,
yes, that's actually part of it, but one of the things that attracted us to the name is the word mission. But
I was living in a house on Mission Road when we met. And so when we were tossing names back and forth, Elliot was trying to come up with some corny, boring names for the duo, because we started as a duo. And he's like, well, we should do Alexander and Simon. And I'm just like, how original. So
how about Alexander's Ragtime Band?
Yeah, so the next thing you know, we were just tossing names around and Mission Road came up. And I was like, you know what? That would be kind of cool, because we are on a mission. We do want to hit the road. We do want to take our music everywhere. And it does have a nice biblical meaning. So
all of that.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to have a name for your band. I mean, it's got to be a great name. It's like Mission Road. Yes, Mission Road. And then also in December of last year, you released your first album containing 13 tracks called All I Want to Say in December. Can you give us an idea of your creative process when writing and recording music?
Well, the writing comes sporadically. I mean, if a phrase hits me, or whether it's a musical phrase or a turn of phrase in terms of the words or the lyrics. Sorry, that's Lily.
Love it. My cat did that several times.
Yeah. But to me,
and I'm keeping
what
it, by the way.
Anyway, I look at songs as almost being like a literary form, because what differentiates a song to me is the words.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because that's the emphasis my dad put on songwriting too, is the words. So I try to come up with a message or a phrase and build a song around that.
Do you feel that music has to have that emotional touch to it? Sort of like, let's say one of your songs is from an experience. Do you want the audience to get that experience too?
Well, hopefully I'll be able to communicate it, because to me that's what gives the music meaning to me, is being able to communicate a feeling or an idea or tell a story. All of those things are what songs are good for. And if Christina can get the feeling from the song. I mean, how do you feel?
Well, it's kind of creepy in a way because every song that Elliot has presented to me to see if I want to sing it or not has been so, it's like been a story from my life. And so I'm able to internalize it and put my own story out there, but in his words. And I think that music has everything to do with emotion. And because all of us have emotions, we're all happy, we all get hurt, we're all heartbroken. And my point of doing this is to make somebody feel something and that they're not alone in whatever they're going through in life. So I've been very blessed at getting songs from him that I can relate to 100%.
Yeah, I've been surprised at the songs that she's picked out that she likes, and it's just been really such an amazing journey. It's hard for me to describe it because just in every step along the way, it all just feels like a revelation. So, and in some respects, I just didn't even think some of these songs would ever see the light of day again. And along she comes, and she's breathing really great life, new life into these songs. It's really amazing.
What's funny about our partnership is that right before Elliot and I started working together, the rock band that I was with, that project had ended. And I was thinking, wow, like that's it for me. I'm at the age I am, and music is now over. I didn't really have an interest in going out and finding another band, especially another rock and roll band, because my heart is with country music. So I
You're
thought,
still young, though.
well, I'm not in my 20s anymore. So it's like, I just felt like my days of music were pretty much over. And Elliot felt the same way about his music career. So it was just all meant to be.
I've been playing music forever, and I was in a band around here with a singer-songwriter where I was playing keyboard for him, and I was in that band for over 10 years.
Mm.
And when we broke up, I said, okay, that's pretty much it. And so I was playing in the church band. I mean, I always wanted to be involved in music. And as we've already told the story of how we happened to stumble into each other,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, that's God's divine appointment, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, we say that all the time.
And
all of this is his plan.
yeah, and before you actually write a song, or even when you were writing this beautiful album from All I Want to Say in December, you definitely probably prayed and said, Lord, let the lyrics flow through me. Is that how you did that?
Yes. To me, life is about conversations with God. And as for me, I came to Jesus relatively, late and far along, and I've always had conversations with God. I just never realized I was having conversations with Jesus until finally the veil was lifted from my eyes, and there he was.
And there was countless times when we were in the recording studio and I was having conversations with Jesus. I'm like, please help me deliver this vocal better. Please give me the strength to get through this. Because there was times with some of those big ballads that's on the album that my voice would crack, or I was just getting a little bit off pitch here and there. And I swear I would pray to him and then open my mouth and sing it, and it would be perfect. I mean, prayer is involved in pretty much everything that we do, even before we eat a meal. So
Yeah.
we live by all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I went to your YouTube channel. There's a song called "I Love Your Way." That, of course, sounds like a Christian song. However, you do a cover of "Redneck Woman." I'm like, that's not Christian. Oh no!
That's my anthem. I'm a country girl.
Well, you got to acknowledge your roots and be humble about where you come from, and don't ever forget where you come from.
And I don't like, I grew up, kind of on the poorer side, and I drink beer, and I like to get, a little rowdy from time to time and sassy. And that song's just perfect for me.
Well, my eyes are on that song. I used to drink whiskey. Now there's an experience around that. Now, is that sort of like a witness tune? Is that like someone says, "Well, you're a Christian band
Yeah,
in the Mission Road, and yet you're playing a song called "I Used to Drink Whiskey"?" I'm just curious. So,
yeah. That song is about, oh boy, breaking old habits is in essence. So uh, sometimes, in order to make progress in your life, you need to break the cycle and change the patterns, because a lot of people get stuck in a rut, and that's actually what that song's all about. The song really in there that's about coming to Jesus moment is "I'm Holding On." And the thing is that there's a lot of people who would think that that song is about you know, two people meeting in a bar, and one trying to pick up the other one. But really, the song's really about a coming to Jesus moment.
I think that that's the beauty of the songs you've written, is that everybody is going to interpret each one of your songs in their own way, because they're kind of vague, but they're also kind of very specific. So you can just like listen to it and be like, that's for me. Like, I get that. Whether it is some girl or guy trying to hook up with somebody in the bar, like you can relate to it.
Well, I guess you can, but having played the clubs and seen all, what a lot of people, how people act and how people behave, you learn a lot about human nature.
no, I totally agree with you because I don't know if you're familiar with the hymn "A Great Mighty Fortress Is Our God." Mighty
I've
fort,
heard it.
a mighty
Yeah.
fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing. That used to be a bar tune, just so you know.
Oh,
Ah.
oh
So
my.
all music is of God, and I did hear a Christian version of "Stairway to Heaven" by Led Zeppelin. So I
Hmm.
mean, am I saying that you should take music by Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears and put Christian lyrics to them? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's a great song. I used to drink whiskey, and I love your way. Yeah, really great music. I love your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Hope my cat doesn't show up. Then we'll have to meet each other, right?
Yeah, my cat is trying to be the center of attention like always.
Yeah. So okay. So about the songwriting process now, I want to ask about so you say that the music comes first, so the lyrics come first. How do you? Let's say you okay. Let's say Elliot says, "Okay, Christina, we're going to write another song for our next album." What do? You sit down, you pray, and you say, "Okay, what's the first line?" So how do you do that?
That's a great question. Because with a song, you can start in the middle, you can start at the beginning, or you can even start at the end. But what we've been doing is in our conversations, if there's a phrase that sounds like it could be in a song, we'll write it down.
Like country rockish.
Yeah, yeah, like that. We'll write that down, and so. But that's the process. It's sort of like, when you read the biographies of authors and playwrights and poets, they keep a journal with them, and if they hear something that catches their ear, then you write it down. I said, George Strait, write this down.
It's funny because that when I used to write, I would just think about whatever situation that I was in and write the song about what I'm going through and how I feel and get very descriptive. So it's interesting. There's a couple different styles apparently of songwriting.
It takes me forever to write a song
Mhm.
because I will agonize over every word and every note and then the song could be done. You've already sent it off and it's been copyrighted, and then I think I can improve it. So you want to. It's like it's never done because you'll look at it, and each time you look at it, you see it through slightly different eyes and through different life experiences. So it's a never-ending process, and some of these songs that are on this album, some of them were written a while ago and were reworked and revamped when Christina and I started working together. So it's a process, and that's really the great thing about music and this whole thing. And the album, by the way, it took over a year to record because we would go in every week.
And like he was saying, you sit there and you pick on your work. You listen to your audio recording, and then I would be like, I can do it better. And it's just a never ending process. And you just get to the point one day you're like, okay, this is good enough. I can keep recording it and keep recording it and keep recording it. But at what point do I just say, okay, this is good enough?
Yeah, if other artists did that and they wouldn't have released half of the music out there because they just were never satisfied with it. And there's this artist, I forget his name, he's an author, and one of his biggest books that was published for years, he decided to take it and re-edit it and re-release it. And you know what? It turned out being the worst idea he ever did. So you just have to be satisfied with what you have, and people love it, and people love it. You play the song in front of 100, 200 people, and 180 people might like it, and 20 people might not like it. Does that mean that, we want to make sure everyone likes it? I mean, no.
Right.
I mean,
No, I'm sorry. That's a great point, is what I was going to say.
You can't make everybody happy.
Yeah. So when you perform at dozens of local venues, first as a duo, you and Elliot, and then the trio with the rest of the band, and then, so do you have to let Chris, Paulie, and Frank know, okay, we're going to be playing here, or you can just go, okay, guys, we're playing, and then you end up saying, what is this crappy place? Like, how does that go? Do you have to take them all there and say, this is where we're playing? What do you think? Is this somewhere you think that the acoustics are okay? What do you think of the acoustics? You know what I mean?
Well, my guys are so easy to get along with. They're just like us. They're not in it for the money. They're just kind of in it because they love music. They love playing. And so they don't care where we play. So I'll just message them and be like, hey, we have a gig at, Mountaineer Meat Smokers on this day. And they come every week for rehearsal. We don't miss any rehearsals. So they're like, okay. And then they show up. They're not picky.
And, it's can you make it on this date?
Yeah.
So a lot of times a venue will say, okay, well, pick between these three. So you go these 3 dates. So you go back to the band and say, can you make these dates?
Mm-hmm.
And you find the ones everybody can make, and we put them down in our calendars. And then there's a lot of gigs where, if the band can't make it, we can do. We do a lot of gigs where I'm playing the piano and she's singing and playing the tambourine. And
oh, wow.
We love doing that too.
So
when we were in the recording studio, when she was playing the tambourine, the engineer at the recording studio, he couldn't believe that she could play the tambourine exactly on beat through the whole song. He says, that hardly ever happens. He says, generally, people start to falter halfway through the song. You pick it up where you left off, and you finish the song, when you're doing the recording. But she's got a rock-solid He was even looking at the computer. He says, "Can you believe this?" He's like a metronome.
Then he was like, let's just see if this is a fluke. So we did like a bunch of other songs, and I was playing tambourine, and he's like, I can't get over this. He's like, how about shakers? I bet you can't keep the beat the same way with shakers. So I had a shaker in each hand, and I did. And then the Latin claves, and I did. And he's just like, girl, you're amazing. I didn't even know. I had no idea I had that talent.
How about the high school band with the guy that go boom, 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 big drum, boom, boom, or
Yeah.
the cymbal guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then you have that one video that it says underneath you have one job, and then there's the whole orchestra, and you have the guy doing the cymbals, and you accidentally let go of one, and it hit the girl with the violin in the head. So stuff like
Oh,
that will
God.
happen.
That probably hurt so bad.
Yeah. How do you what do you expect your listeners to take away from your music?
Well, for me, it's, did you like the song? But now that I'm involved with the band and with Christina, I'm always happy when people appreciate her voice, because that's the thing that when we first started playing together, she was a little rusty, but I could tell that she had just a fantastic voice. So, but I would hope that people would take away from it, that the sound, it sounds good, and it's got a really good message, and that that they like what we're trying to say.
See, and I want people to take away from our music that no matter how hard life gets, just keep on going forward, and that they are not alone.
Well, that's one of the songs. Keep on doing.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That's a really good way of putting it. So how do you handle criticism or negative feedback about your music? What is the main thing you do?
Well, I was, I guess, blessed in a way that I was criticized about my music my entire life. Very few people liked my voice. A lot of people just
That's hard to believe.
would insult me to the point that I didn't even want to sing in public for karaoke anymore. And so I kind of, when I started really learning how to sing better and learned how to use my voice as an instrument, there were still people trying to tear me down. So, but now that I know that I can sing, I've realized that not everybody is going to like me, and that's okay. I don't like all of the other singers either. There's some people that I just don't like listening to, and there's people that I can listen to the same song on repeat 3 weeks straight. So I just kind of take it with a grain of salt, and I'm just like, okay, you don't like my voice, you don't like my songs, that's okay. So that's why I say I'm blessed, because I've just heard it so much in my life that I don't let it kill my heart anymore.
And you can't, if you're going to go on stage, you can't have a thin skin. I mean, you gotta.
This cat.
Well, you're so sweet. But you just have to understand that not everybody's going to love what you do. And if you can find enough people that like what you're doing, then you're blessed.
And I also looked at it like, they might not like me, but I love what I'm doing. There's a feeling of freedom and release, and there's just nothing better than being on stage.
And being able to express yourself, that's a real blessing.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Because you have to enjoy what you're doing. But what do you think is the reason many members of bands leave? For instance, I don't know if you're probably familiar with Oasis, the two brothers, Liam and Noel Gallagher. They're brothers, but they got to a point where there's conflict that the band broke up. There's several bands like that who just suddenly, you know what, I had enough of you. But then you have bands like Rolling Stones still together, or Aerosmith. Like, why do you have some and not the others? What do you think that is?
I think it has to do with people getting into silly little arguments or disagreements and it just goes way too far. Or there's a girl involved and, a couple members fight over the girl.
Or ego.
Ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when people have been married for a long time, why do they break up? I mean, what changes? What happens? So it's that's one of the great mysteries of life. And there's so many stories like that. There's Fleetwood Mac. There's another one,
Yeah.
and ABBA, and
Yeah.
So I mean, and these are people that have been playing together a long time. And then there's just we went.
Even the Beatles broke up.
But even with our band, I mean, we had 3 drummers on the album. One of the drummers decided that he needed more time to spend with his family. So, there's all kinds of reasons why bands break up, and sometimes somebody falls into ill health. Sometimes, but that story of Oasis and the brothers, especially since they were brothers, that is particularly that's a particularly sad story.
I think some of it is too that when you're serious about music, it starts taking away from your family. And when you're serious about it, the demand, to always be there is hard for people. So
Yeah, that's true. But okay, so now we're talking about country music here, blues music. Also, you'd like to do originals and covers. Do you have different types of covers that you like to, well, like you mentioned, but is there some songs you won't do? Have you had a desire to take like a Britney Spears tune or an Aerosmith tune or something and kind of make a bluesy type version?
Wow, that's a good question. What kind of tunes won't we do?
I won't do any kind of satanic.
Well, yeah, of course.
Music, like I just will not.
Right. Well,
so hard rock and roll like that, or heavy metal.
I don't. It's a good question in that, like even like some of today's country music. I don't find that. I find that modern popular music, they're kind of stripping down the music to where almost there isn't a melody there anymore. So I want to do a song that's got a melody that I can kind of dig my ear into, and a good positive lyric. I mean, there are some lyrics where even if they're not positive, they express something that's, an important human emotion. But like there can be an angry song that's still a good song. Songs.
Yeah, like Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood. That's a great song. It's an angry song, but
yeah,
we cover it.
That's a borderline song there. Yeah, that's true. That's fine.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. How do you balance staying true to your artistic vision while also appealing to a wider audience?
That's a good question.
That's always the never-ending battle for truth, justice, and that's.
Well, for me, no matter what I sing, it sounds country, so I can't really get away from the sound of my voice.
Yeah. But so far, we haven't had to worry about selling out for money because so far the money hasn't been a whole lot of. There hasn't been a whole lot of money in the process, except for coming out of our own pockets to do things like recording and buy equipment and stuff like that. So, but hopefully, somewhere down the road we can make a living at this. But in the meantime, just really enjoying the process and the journey.
Yeah, talking about money. I appreciate what you said there. I appreciate what you said there, Elliot. But talking about money, how do they pay you in venues, and how is it split amongst you?
I'm the guy that takes care of that stuff. So uh, it's about 50-50 in terms of the venues. Some of them will pay you by check, so I have to make the check out to my company, and then which is that 779 music that you'll see on the album, and so they pay me, and then I'll pay the guys, and that's how that works. Um, you're lucky if you can make, playing the really local venues and stuff. That's you make $150 a night per person. Sometimes less, sometimes more. It depends upon the situation. We hooked up with a booking agent, so we get probably half of our gigs through our own efforts, and then half the gigs that we get are through a booking agent, and so it keeps us busy enough. Because really, what we want to do is, we love playing the bars, the wineries, the breweries, and all that, and the restaurants. But we'll sometimes play venues, for free if there's an event or a benefit going on, because then you have more of a concert type of audience, which is what we're aiming for. We want to start playing concerts, opening up for established acts to promote our original music.
That was a long answer.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's me. All right.
I'm just kidding.
I know. Well, thank you, though. Thank you.
So, how did you find Caden Gordon? Because he's really good, and be interested in how you connected with him.
Well, that song "Used to Drink Whiskey," we put it up on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook. Actually, Christina did. She's really good with the social media, and that song got over 10,000 views on Facebook.
Mm.
And one of the people who saw it and liked it was a guy named Eric Diamond, who's country's, a Western swing singer. He liked the song, so he got in touch with me. So we had a couple of conversations on phone, and in one of the conversations, he mentioned Caden to us, and that's how I got in touch with Caden, and we've been really happy. He's got a great work ethic, and he's very talented at what he does.
Mm-hmm. He's good. But
yeah,
so since you're good with social media, Christina, how do you stay connected with your fans and build a strong fan base? How did it start? And how did you get to where it is? There's a lot of promotion
Well,
here and there.
I wouldn't say I'm great with social media.
I would.
But I have daily updates on all of our social media platforms. I focus mostly on our Facebook. So every single day I post something, whether it's an inspirational quote, whether it's a video, a gig announcement, reminders of gig announcements, various flyers and graphics that I'll make. I try to keep the pages popping so that we end up in everybody's news feeds. Because if you leave your social media pages stagnant, then nobody will see anything that you post. So I just that's pretty much it. You just keep it up and keep it up, and over time, you little by little build a following. You ask your viewers to share your posts and do Facebook Lives. We now have our own little weekly program on Facebook. So just the more you do it, the more interaction you have with folks, slowly they come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of work involved in getting your name out there in music and things. Like, can you share a moment when you felt like giving up on your whole thing and how you pushed through it?
I haven't felt that way because I'm living my dream right now. This is what I've always wanted to do. So I'm sure that if I wanted to do that, he would kick me right in the rear end.
Well, I sometimes think to myself, is this worth it? And then the immediate answer is, yes, it is. So, if you don't have some self-doubt sometimes,
Hmm.
you ain't human. So
Well, I doubt I'm not a good enough singer. Like I have my own self doubts too, but I have not come to a point where I've just wanted to throw my hands up and be like, I'm done. Because I know I can't. I've already given up music multiple times in my life, and it just didn't work out for me. I wound right back up in music. So
yeah, same here.
Wow, that's amazing. You are so inspirational. Um, but sometimes, you have this creative sort of periods of creative block or burnout. How do you stay inspired and motivated?
so that happens to me. A lot of my blocks come from what am I going to post on social media this time? What kind of video am I going to create? And so what I do is I will look over some of my previous posts that I've made, and I follow a bunch of other musicians, so I kind of get inspiration from others and just kind of make it Mission Road style and put it out there.
Well, my inspiration comes from when we um, actually play the music. It was like last night we had such a great rehearsal with the full band, and I woke up this morning after that, and I was so energized, and I just felt great, and just that's what feeds, your that's what feeds your mind, your body, your soul, your heart. That's what keeps you going.
Yeah. So do you see your music evolving in any way in the near future? And do you have any like issues with new directions that you hope to explore, or are you just going to try to keep it as just as with the originals, the roots rock, blues, and pop? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
You ask really great questions because I I do best when I don't think about it. If planning, I don't want to like say I want to. This is my path. I'm looking for inspiration for my path from where the spirit leads me, and so I just want to keep myself open to it.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that, Christina?
I feel the same way he does. I don't have like I mean, the only thing that I really do want to do in my career is play on the Grand Ole Opry.
No.
but but I mean, we if you're gonna dream, dream big, right? But yeah, wherever it leads us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like my heart is open. I've got all of the faith, and just guide me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. With all that work you do, though, but you have to also balance the demands of touring and performing. Like, how do you take care of your physical and mental health?
Just have to make time.
Well, music is really good for both of our mental health. That's kind of how we refresh our minds and our hearts and our souls. It's like we're bathing in our music. That's also like I don't know. I can have the worst day in the world, and we go and rehearse, and it's like I've just been born again. It's
Yeah. That's what happened last night.
yeah. There's
You were
just
singing
something.
great. I felt really energized.
But we do take some time, like when we're both tired physically and mentally, just tired, especially if we have a few gigs that week. We'll just like take a day to rest and recuperate. But then the next day, we're like ready to get back to work.
There's an ebb and flow because that's right. There's an ebb and flow because there are some weeks where we'll have 4 or 5 gigs in that week, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes two in one day,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll go sometimes 2 weeks without a gig, and so we've got one gig this weekend. It's a Saturday in Charlestown at a place called Alfredo's, and then where we play once a month. And then after that, the weekend after that, we'll be at the event that Caden has organized down in Nashville, in Hendersonville.
Nice.
And there's going to be 18 different songwriters that have gotten together, and the event is to benefit and bring attention to autism
Mm-hmm.
and those
Mm.
issues. And
Good one.
So yeah, so we're excited about that, and then we're back in Martinsburg, West Virginia, the following week at the Mountaineer Barbecue, where we play every couple of months, and so we have regular places that we play, and then we're always looking for new venues, and so it keeps it interesting because we like playing for our current audience, and we love meeting new people and getting to meet new audiences.
That is amazing, Elliot. I really appreciate that. But when you're talking about playing with Caden, will dealing with the autism, I think you said. Um,
Hmm.
is that a specific charity that causes you to support through your music and performances? Are there any other charities that you play for?
Uh,
We've been asked to play for a lot of different charities, like Guitarists for Vets, where
mhm.
you perform and whatever money they raise goes to this foundation that will teach veterans how to play guitar. And then
to
at the end
deal
of their
with
program,
to deal with PTSD.
yeah, and when the program is over, they give them a free guitar. We get involved in, I mean, really any opportunity that we can. We love to support, raise awareness, help out.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that we've done, but I'm drawing a
Well, there was
blank.
Paul Hogan's event down by the river.
Oh yeah, he was throwing those bashes so that
Mhm.
people would bring canned goods for the homeless.
Mm,
Yeah,
good. That's awesome. I like that. I love
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, we've done a lot of that. Yeah, thank you.
Wow. Do you think even with the young folk, do you think that like how do you see the role of music education and development of young musicians in the future in the industry?
Well, I teach music at a Christian co-op
Nice.
for kids ages 5 to 10 years old. These are homeschool kids, and so this is extracurricular activities for them, and I teach them music, and that's very rewarding. I love doing it.
Yeah. Well, know if you can. When I ask you, since I know that you're in West Virginia, you're in the hills, and I don't know how this would affect you, but I'm going to ask, and I know people are going to say, "Why do you ask that question?" Because I want to get everyone's take on it. Every artist, no matter what genre, no matter where they live, whether they're local, whatever. How do you feel about the whole artificial intelligence taking over the music industry?
I don't like it.
So far, fortunately it hasn't taken over, but it's gained a foothold. So I understand your concern, and there needs to be some ground rules because if you take the humanity out of music, what do you have left?
Yeah, you can't feel AI singing. You need to feel something for music.
Yeah, and for a machine to write a song, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, machines are writing novels and all kinds of stuff these
I
days.
don't know about that either because that's really what art is about. It's human
Hmm.
beings communicating with each other, and I was watching a podcast, and I forget the guy who was doing the podcast, but one thing he mentioned, he says, is that AI can never get too far because AI does not have a soul.
I know who you're talking about, Rick Beato. I saw that video too. I saw that video.
Okay, yeah.
And he
Mhm.
literally actually played music by AI and said some of it was terrible, wasn't bad, terrible. But I know somebody, actually, he's another artist, and he took Mozart's Unfinished Symphony and he had AI finish it. And my question was, so if you put that same unfinished symphony, whether it's Mozart or Beethoven, everyone has an unfinished symphony. You put it through the AI, does it come up with the same music? So no, it's always different. So but with some of the stuff that Rick Beato had played that he had created, some of it wasn't bad, but others are like just generic, like jingles, like commercial jingles, whatever. But They did, however, I don't know if you're familiar with what Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney called the last Beatles song is the one called Now and Then that they used AI to extract the vocals from John Lennon's track. They extracted his pianos, and then George Harrison. They were working on it since John was alive, and then when John passed away, they kept working on it. Then George Harrison passed 2001, so they took his track, and they all added it. And Paul and Ringo in the studio came up with Now and Then, and they personally said it was the last Beatles song. So it is good in some way, but otherwise, well, you're gonna have some guy sitting on a couch eating chicken wings and getting overweight and watching TV, and he's gonna make millions of dollars because all he did was put lyrics to an AI, and he came up with the song that's playing on the music on the radio, and he's making like billions on it. So that's the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a that's your classic double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I'm very skeptical about AI. I'm an old-fashioned guy, and I like
Oh yeah.
I like the music because of the humanity it represents.
Definitely. And AIs and robots, they don't have talent. You know,
Right.
they no talent.
Yeah,
Um,
and you can't go see a show. Like, who are you going to watch? Like, you can't go to a concert for songs that's been created by AI unless you just watch something on a projector. Like, I don't know. I just would rather it come from a real human, be written by a real human, performed by a human.
totally. I
That's
agree with you totally. So tell us what's new uh, in the future for you after this album. All I want to say, what's next for you?
growing our audience, getting that album out to as many people as we can, and getting their reactions to it, and hopefully they'll like it.
Concerts.
We've also got we've worked up another half a dozen songs already, preparing for the next album. But we want to leave, enough time to work through and to get out to as wide an audience as possible the music we've already put on record. So that's what we're doing. We just want to meet people. We want to get out and see if how big an audience we can possibly appeal to. And so far the reactions have been pretty good.
Okay, Christina and Elliot from Missions Road. Can you give us some advice that you would give to aspiring musicians just starting out in the industry?
You want to start, or you want me to go first?
Well, I think that for me, the number one thing is don't give up on yourself. Don't give up. You're gonna fail a billion times before you get one thing right. So, I mean, and I can tell you from personal experience, even learning a song, I've had to I've had to sometimes sing the same line over and over and over and over and over again until I got it right. Just don't give up on yourself. If you feel it in your heart, and because you know when you're supposed to be a musician, you just know. Just keep going, and don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do it.
So I heard a stat that just absolutely blew my mind, and that is that there are 100 million songs uploaded every day to Spotify. 100 million. So you can't look at this as a competition, and you can't look at it as you got to understand that your odds of becoming a star are infinitesimal. So you have to do it for the right reasons, and it's because it's what you feel in your heart, and follow your heart, and just use it as a way of expressing yourself, and you need in order to do this, you need to do it because that's what you need to maintain your mental health
Mm-hmm.
and your good feeling about yourself. And that's why I do it. And that's how everybody, I think, should approach it. But of course, it's a personal thing for everybody. Just do it. Don't give up, as
Love your attitude.
Christina said.
Love your
Mhm.
attitude. I remember one artist. I said, "So, what advice would you give to aspiring musicians just starting out?" And he goes, "Don't." I laughed, but he was just joking. But it was funny. Um,
Yeah.
Missions Road, thank you so much for this opportunity to interview you and for being on our podcast as special guests and sharing with us. And we're going to make sure that everything is linked below, your musics, to give people a chance to listen and judge for themselves. And hopefully, your guitarist, Chris Thompson, bassist, Paulie Coconuts, which I love the name, by the way, and percussionist Frank Perez, and the rest of would actually watch this podcast, and hopefully people will understand who Mission Road is and just move on. And I'm also so glad that you have God on your side, because I know that God is important.
Mm.
Yeah.
Being Christian myself, so we all have to make sure that it's not your band, it's His band, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
He's given us the gifts.
I definitely. I really appreciate this. Okay, we're going to end this stream, and thank you so much, Christina and Elliot. Looking forward to maybe talking to you again. Okay,
Thank you
everyone,
so much.
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. Okay, everyone, Mission Road is now leaving the platform.